Hello everyone, I'm a bit too tall.
This fat guy's.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel.
Wait a moment.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to this new video. Today officially starts the second season of this series.
But let's say what a couple... the end, come on.
There could have been other universes with other pairs, and you live in this universe and you get the good Nicolo. And Roberto here from Emoto Latina, a workshop that always gives us great emotions, both from the technical side. Roberto's explanations are appreciated in the comments, and we read them all, both from the point of view of the beauty of the works of art that then come out and also of the performances. In short, Giacomo's Panical has made quite an impression at the counter. Today, Roberto, I brought you a slightly different, a bit cheaper motorcycle, let's say a bit more modest.
Affordable for everyone.
Affordable for all. The list price in 2019 was $8,290 for this CBR 650R, as I mentioned. Not the latest model, but the penultimate one, because then there was the restyling, the update to the huge Euro 5 anti-pollution. And so today we have a fine job to do. Something that comes close to Giacomo's Panigale, but a little more street.
Then we want to say it in the end, an affordable bike, but also what we are going to do. Maybe Giacomo's bike is top level, including its equipment. Well, here we show that with "for nonsense," in quotes, we totally overturn the behavior of the bike.
Because I remind you, the bike could have started as a road sports bike with the option of, on the track, it feels a bit out of place among the super sports. 600 true, so today I would say not to waste time, because anyway there will be work to do. Let's launch the jingle and see you on the bench.
Go. First of all, it's not unwrapped.
Exactly, this time it's a simpler motorcycle and a more modest unboxing, but nothing gets unwrapped. Few, in quotes, the things we're going to stay with.
Few components, but essential.
Exactly essential. And so we have already prepared everything on the bench, at least in part, everything that we are going to install in today's episode.
Yes, because we do it like at the Panical. We always wait for components that should arrive, but...
And they don't arrive. But this is the beauty, isn't it? The pleasure is in the waiting itself, isn't it? So then, Robbie, show us a little bit of what we're going to assemble today and explain to us what the work process will be.
Well, we start anyway with the refinement of the cycling, for which we thank Andriani for having provided you indeed with very high quality components. Quality here, we have a Misano Evo cartridge that we have already mounted on the Panigale. So we're talking about a very respectable fork with caps made from solid computer numerical control and everything. Anyway, the interior is made of diamond-like carbon, treated aluminum, so even the same rod of the pump is treated with diamond-like carbon, so it's anti-friction with 20mm pistons, and we have the adjustment of the compression return and pedals with spring. This cartridge works in an incredible way because it's a cartridge that makes the adjustments made very sensitive. Hydraulics make the bike more stable, especially improving braking, because the weight load is absorbed by the fork, and when there is quality hydraulics, the braking also improves. We also have the all-in shock absorber, always provided by Andriani, of course, which will allow us, together with the cartridge, to create a setting suitable for the classic, basic rider, in any case, with preload ring. We have adjustable rebound compression, so the essentials to fix the bike, close the suspension topic. Now we move on to a minimum of necessary accessories. We have brake lever and clutch lever anyway. Adjustable grip, obviously foldable, so even in case of fall, we avoid the stub braking. This comes up to follow the brake lever guard. Then we are going to install a nice quick release tank cap so we can avoid maybe to turn off the bike or to remove the keys from the block and put them in the lock. So even during the heating phase, maybe you screw the cap on the fly, since it's manual, and you put fuel, domino signed grips, and finally a small adjustment on the brake department. Even though we see an original total stop pump, but anyway, it's a Brembo pump with radial attachment, so definitely much more performing than the original pump, which is, let's say, an axial pump for a basic bike like this. We are going to match it with a nice Brembo smoke tank kit because rightly in the original tank, it is integrated here. No, so we had to make this move here. And then there's more, but I won't tell you now. We'll see it later.
The choice of components, of course, is not random. It's pointless to put a 19 RCS short stroke on a CBR 650 with not even 100 horses. Also because modifying the original system, as David did correctly by inserting good pads and changing the original tubes with braided ones, it's already working well. To then give it that extra touch, here comes the pump that we will install properly.
So, we're already ready with the first rod in the vise and we're going to disassemble the fork into both pieces this time because we need to remove the foot from the stem. We need to remove it because the Misano Evo kit, let's say, for this bike doesn't mean it's for all of them. Andriani had to make this attachment for the lower footrest area in order to then screw the cartridge onto it, so it's a bit of a complex and sometimes annoying job, and we find a fork that is a bit worn and quite dirty, and we have to polish all its parts, especially the stem, so there's a bit of work to do. At this point, I'm going to remove this little safety grain, which is, let's say, an insignificant grain, because then this threading area is always full of Loctite. So what do? Once the grain is removed with the hairdryer, we heat this area well. And once this is done, then it requires a special tool. Come with me, Nico. I'll show you what the special tools are in this case. Here, in the Andriani drawer, we find this jaw that will allow us, indeed, in the correct measure. This is 41 millimeters. Here in the drawer, we have a 43. We have all the measures that start from 35 to 48, and so we have the possibility to unscrew the stem without ruining it.
What I want to point out is the before and after of these processes, beyond the aesthetic look of the cap, which is another thing. But above all, the result of Roberto's work, the right fork looks like a new fork compared to the left one that seems to have gone through the Punic Wars.
So Nicolo, now I want to show you on this one. Let's not forget that it works on return. Now it's all the register open, so we have a high oil passage, it flows faster, and so a speed in the return, we are going to ask the register with the 3A wrench above, we are going to lower the needle and therefore decrease this passage. And closing it.
Madonna!
See how he brakes so beautiful.
Spectacular.
exaggerated.
No, but the sound man, orgasmic?
Look, it's a cartridge that Nicolo and I have mounted, who knows how many. It works like a charm. Every minor adjustment on the registers has an effect. On this one, we started that it had no adjustments. But also on those that have them by default, but they are a bit deaf. Mounting a component like this, the bike changes from this to this.
After installing the fork, we move on to the mono. But the surprises don't end here, because we have a little electronic gem to install, right, Roby?
Right, we didn't show you at the start of the video, but we're telling you now. We're going to install it on the CBR 650R. An electronic shift, really very smart.
Cutting edge, I would dare to say.
Yes, let's say that. So the product is branded ILTEC. It's a very versatile electronic changeover because it has interchangeable wiring. We have the control unit, which is unique for almost all motorcycles, and then they provide you with a incomplete.
Dedicated wiring for the type of motorcycle you have. The cool thing then about this quick shifter control unit is the fact that it has a Bluetooth connection, and through a dedicated application, you can connect to this control unit to this little module to go and set all the shift times.
Yes, but I want to specify one thing. It's true that there is all the voice guidance and company. But when we talk about calibration, I always recommend performing a calibration under load. What does it mean if you do it under... The motorcycle is on the ground with the stand. If adjusting it doesn't change the situation, maybe let me know. I make my own, on the road, come back, make changes, try again, and maybe find the answer. I always recommend that approach, to have a calibration on the test bench that maybe can be better from this point of view.
Thank me later. Consider that the same exact model, I went to install it on my old 10X Zeta R 2015 that did not come out at the time with the electronic change, and I installed it from alone since it's different from this one. CBR here, where Roberto is dealing with the coils because it's a bike, as I told you, of old conception, not so updated from this point of view. The ZX-10R had pipettes, so I connected directly with the wiring. To those I made pass in a polite and composed way all the wiring and then connected the sensor that I previously demonstrated on the rod as instructed in the package. I managed to configure everything, and after a couple of refinements on the road, since I still didn't know yet. Alas, Roberto, I managed to get everything working optimally. Gearbox installation completed. But good Roberto just told me we won't be doing the setup today because in the next episode we will take advantage of the use of the bench for other things to properly configure, as we said before, the gearbox of the Ilech.
At least we remove any doubt, we know that. Anyway, with the engine load and the gear cutting, obviously it's perfect, so we're confident everything will work on the road. went to install a radial pump, branded Brembo, and to be able to install it on this bike, you saw that we went to put a dedicated tank with its own bracket. And then since we had the pipe that on that axial has the connection, let's say lateral, this instead has it underneath, we had to necessarily go and put an adapter. It's not a top situation, but we can't do otherwise. The cherry on top, we went and did by installing the Bonamici lever, which is a much more robust lever. It still has an ergonomics. A whole other thing, as it was, it has the distance adjustment precisely, and then we have the situation that the lever is foldable, so in case of a fall, it can avoid breaking.
So we come to the end of this first video in the workshop from Imoto Garage with Roberto, many components installed and many improvements made, but they won't end here. In fact, in the next episode of the series Tuned It Up with the CBR and with Roberto, we will move to the mapping cabin. Roberto, I thank you as usual for the dedication and passion you put into it.
Thank you.
And for the great work done on today's bike.